Today we're talking about Trae Young. Today's video is going to be about one of the most exciting players in college basketball for the 2017-2018 season. We call him Trigger Trae Young. He is a 6'2" point guard from Norman, Oklahoma. He went to his hometown college, the Oklahoma Sooners. And if you are a draft fan, an NBA draft fan, I know you caught many of his games. He went from nowhere to projected #1 pick back to probably his actual projected value. Because you really don't see too many diminutive guards get drafted #1 in the NBA draft anyway. So even with the hot start that he had, it was going to be a long road ahead for him to be drafted #1. But let's talk about him. Trae Young, he's also, the size is not ideal, 6'2", about a 6'5"-ish wingspan. He is not a explosive athlete at all. He is he's just not a run jump athlete. But what he is, he's quick with the ball. He is quick with the push up and down the court, very fast with the ball in his hands. Even in the half-court settings, he is quick in the half-court settings also. If you watched him this season, he was able to get to the cup just about any time he wanted to. He was getting to the rim at will in college, and this is against double teams, triple teams. He was getting trapped a lot, and he was still able to get to the rim. And the #1 reason that gets him to the rim so good or so well is because of that shot of his. He has, I guess his range is out to probably about 35 feet. He does have the Steph Curry range. I'm not sure about the Steph Curry comparisons. I think it's very close, but I think it has more to do with that light skin and the range on his shot. But what I will say is he is one of the best shooters to come out of college since Steph Curry. He might not be Steph Curry, but he's going to be a close proximity because, in my opinion, that shot is real. His jumper is real. So that's something that's going to have to be respected at the next level. His ability to get to the rim is going to have to be respected at the next level. Now, he sometimes get a little loose with his ball handling, but he is a wonderful ball handler overall. He is able to switch speeds real well. He's got a lot of hezzies in his game. That's all these things are what allows him to get to the rim, and allows him to get to the free throw line at a very, very high clip. I think he averaged over 8 free throws a game, shooting over 86% from the free throw line this year. And now when he got to the rim, he wasn't just getting there for himself. He did average over 8 assists a game this year, 8.7 assists per game. Led the NCAA in assists. He has wonderful court vision. He is able to pass on the dribble with one hand through traffic. He throws wonderful lobs. He has a lot to offer as a point guard. I mean, to me, really, every player in this draft, in the 2018 NBA draft, has what I would call a red flag. There's no player that I would say that has just a weakness, because it's different to have a weakness, like Ben Simmons has a weakness of not being able to shoot from distance. But these other players in this draft, they have red flags. I mean, red flags that would be like give you pause on drafting them at their projected draft slot. So it's a big difference to me. So when you're having a draft like this and you have DeAndre Ayton, who has a lot of issues with his defense and defensive awareness. You have Marvin Bagley, who has issues with rim protection, defensive awareness, right hand. Luka Doncic, who has defensive issues, lateral quickness issues, and things like that. You have to really consider Trae Young probably in the top 5. To me, he's still a top 5 prospect in this draft, simply because I think the offense is real. And if you look at the current climate in the NBA, that offense can carry you a long way. A point guard who can stretch the court, provide a lot of gravity out towards his shot. When the defense has to adjust for his shot, when somebody has to start picking him up at 30 feet, it makes a real difference in what opens up for the other players on the court. And I think he's going to look a lot better with other players that can score, because he was plagued at Oklahoma with teammates that couldn't score. Hell, they couldn't even hit free throws. So it's going to be a real big difference, and I think he's going to look a lot different even as soon as Summer League. So to me, I still have him as a top 5 pick in this draft. But now let's get to the glaring weakness that he has, and that is defense. In the NBA, with the pick and rolls and the switching and everything like that, having a 6'2" guard, a 6'2" point guard who's very light is going to be a detriment, because they're going to switch out on him a lot. He's going to get switched on to guys like James Harden, probably LeBron James, guys who are just going to eat him up. There's just there's just no question about it. He's going to get ate up a lot, especially early. He's going to have to get a lot stronger. He's going to have to get a lot stronger with the ball. He's going to have to get a lot stronger finishing. And, it just depends. I think it's a lot that's going to go on to get him in a good strength program and get some strength in him. And as far as a Memphis Grizzly fan, I saw the same things with Mike Conley. Mike Conley was very, very slight when he came into the league. And 5-6 years later, he was kind of built like a tank, and he was able to take some of that punishment that he was offered. But I expect Trae Young to go through a similar period where he's going to struggle with the physicality of the NBA very early. But once he catches up, as far as strength and conditioning, I think he'll be just fine. I don't think he'll ever be a plus defender in the NBA. I'm not saying he's going to go that far, but I think he can go from being a huge liability to somebody who can just be a zero, as far as you can play him in a good defensive system and he won't hurt you as much. If you got to remember Steve Nash, he had the same problems, but his offensive game was able to overcome that. Steph Curry had the same problem. Even Isaiah Thomas had the same problem last year at Boston, and you can see his offensive game was able to overcome that. So offense shouldn't be a problem. Now, another thing that we have to address is shot selection with Trae Young. Trae Young's shot selection leaves a lot to be desired. This has been something that's been going on even through his high school days. And what we have to figure out is his shot selection a result of his bad teammates, or is that just something that's in him as a player to take bad shots? And when you have a guy who can make 30-footers pretty routinely, you should not have to worry about, you shouldn't really worry about his shot selection, because he's going to have to take some bad shots. Steph Curry takes some bad shots. So we're not going to really worry about his shot selection. I think it'll be okay in the NBA with a little coaching and a good system to put him around, and also playing with better players, especially some veterans, to get him some experience to know when and where to take those deep jumpers. But he's going to have to take some, because he's going to have to get the defense to respect him out to 30 feet and start picking him up, real high. Now, his fit on the Grizzlies. As you know, Mike Conley's been out most of the year. Mike Conley is entrenched as the point guard in Memphis. Mike Conley has I think, going to have 3 more years left on his humongous contract. But I will say this. I wouldn't pass on Trae Young because Mike Conley's in Memphis. Mike Conley might be headed towards, as a diminutive point guard over 30, he might be headed to that point where he's going to start to diminish, as far as a player. I wouldn't, I know Memphis is not going to do that, especially while Chris Wallace is the GM. They're not going to be proactive enough to trade Mike or Marc Gasol. But I wouldn't hesitate on taking Trae Young anyway, because I think he would be a good fit. There'd be nothing wrong with bringing him off the bench for a year or two, and learning behind Mike Conley, because when you drafting, as much as Memphis fans would love to return to the playoffs next year and would like to grab up somebody like DeAndre Ayton, Marvin Bagley, or Luka Doncic to try to get back in the playoffs next year, when you have a top 5 pick, you have to be thinking long term with that pick. This guy should be with your organization for 10 years, if not more. And for 10 years or more, you can't think about the first 2 years of that tenure, because with most rookies, the first 2 years are going to be bumpy regardless. Even if they get somebody like Luka Doncic or DeAndre Ayton, it's not to say that they won't have problems that will keep them from starting either. Even if it's not another player in front of them, if you're able to gift them minutes, you might still have problems with starting them as rookies. I mean, you can never tell when it comes to the NBA draft. So if I'm the Memphis Grizzlies, I would not hesitate on drafting Trae Young, letting him back up Mike Conley, let him get 20 to 22 minutes a game. He can play short stints with Mike Conley. Mario Chalmers was able to do that. So if Mario Chalmers was able to do that, then I'm pretty sure, Trae Young will be able to do that. Yes, they might get hurt a lot on the defensive end, but that's something you're going to have to deal with and learn to live with. When you're drafting a top 5 player, you go for the talent. And another thing that Trae Young can do is, if he pops, if he hits, if he becomes what he was in college, those first few months that you were watching him in college, he is going to be a humongous ticket seller. He is going to be a superstar. There's nothing that people don't like more in the NBA is the little guy banging out threes and competing with all the giants in the NBA. So this is Hustle Hoops. Please like this video, share this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification button so you can get notified when we do our next video. And I think our next video is going to be the bag man, Marvin Bagley, who was just eliminated from the NCAA tournament. And we're going to talk a little bit about Marvin Bagley in our next video. But for this one's out, and we are still a fan of Trae Young. Peace.